tattoo artist and college-wise?
Okay, so I actually went to college and I have a degree in painting, a BFA in painting. And when I graduated from school, I got into a couple different colleges and I was going to go for my master's degree in painting. And then I realized that I was waiting tables and I was waiting tables with people that had an MFA. And they were $40,000 in debt and waiting tables, and I wasn't and was waiting tables, and I just decided that I didn't want to go into debt to pay for more school.
Okay, so in your opinion, what makes a tattoo cool or a big mistake?
What makes a tattoo cool or a big mistake? Number one, the intention. Does the tattoo mean something to the person that's getting it or not? Is it some drunken thing? There are two kinds of tattoos. One's for you to look at, and one's that you want other people to look at. I'm a tattoo artist myself, so I take it real personal. Every tattoo I have on my body, there's a good story behind each one of them, and they always have some meaning.
What methods would you recommend to remove tattoos that have gone bad?
I don't.
You don't?
Nope.
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 People-
If you got a tattoo, that's sorry. That's what. If you had some tweaker in some garage, somewhere, nailing something to you at 4 o'clock in the morning because you're, out of your mind, crazy in love or whatever. Same thing along the lines, crazy in love. Sorry, you gotta deal with it. They say tattoos are a lifelong reminder of temporary insanity.
What?
We gotta read fast.
Yeah, okay.
Alright.
What, do you have a tattoo that you regret?
Every one of them.
Every one of them?
Yeah.
Every one of them. Okay. Are getting tattoos painful or do people exaggerate? They're painful? Okay. What is the weirdest tattoo you've ever done?
Weirdest tattoo. Let's see. Damn, what is the weirdest? I've done kids' drawings on people's body. I've done longhorns on butts. I've done, I don't know. I've done crazy tattoos, not so weird. Oh, I've gotten, yeah, I guess it is weird. Because they don't necessarily look good,
Yeah, it's just there.
but they're there.
Listen.
Question on here that says, do you have a tattoo?
Don't count it. Just ignore it.
Yes.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna ask that, sorry. Okay. What kind of tattoo do you have? Does it have a story or meaning to it?
Yeah. Like go through that.
Yeah, sure.
Alright. Mississippi. That's where I'm from. So it was like a big deal for me to get that when I was moving out of there. And then all the other ones were like band images.
Cool.
So like this is Bidlake. It's a band from Denton, Texas. They'll have like a very personal meaning to me. Like those albums do. So it's the Radiohead tattoo. That was the first one I ever got. Mutual Milk Hotel. It's like another band. And then the Antlers Hospice is another band album.
Can I say both?
Sure. Both?
Definitely both, yeah.
Both? Okay.
Yeah. I feel like if you haven't thought about it,
Then why do it?
just jump into it.
Okay, and in your opinion, what makes a tattoo cool or a big mistake?
Cool is if you have a really strong connection with like a cool background story. And a mistake is if you just got it, you think it's gonna look cool to everyone else. If it's not cool to you, you shouldn't do it.
Okay. Alright. Okay. What do you think of replacing tattoo artists with 3D printers that can do the tattoos instead?
Don't like that.
Don't like that?
Don't like it. These guys put up like a lot of hard work into what they do.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, last question. Do tattoos look sexier on guys or on girls? Either one?
Never really thought about it, to tell you the truth. Yeah, I mean,
Thank you. Does the tattoos that you have any certain meaning to it? Like, is it really important to you?
I wouldn't say too important, but they mean something to me. I have 4. My elbows, one is my favorite flower, and the other one is my grandmother's favorite flower, and we're really tight. My boyfriend and I, we have each a PB&J, so I've got the jelly and he's got the peanut butter, and that's
Cute.
And then I consider myself a dreamer. I love dream catchers, and I have the craziest dreams every night, and I remember them like bit to bit. So I got a dream catcher on my arm, but not like too crazy of a meaning or anything, you know, just simple stuff.
Great. Okay. In your opinion, what kind of people shouldn't get tattoos?
Undecisive people.
Undecisive people.
Just because, honestly, my first tattoo was in my lip, and it's fading a little bit, but I wasn't sure what I wanted, and so I did the lip because who can
You wouldn't
see it?
see it too much,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I got that at 18, and then I got my second one at 22,
Okay.
and I'm pretty happy with them still.
And last question: do you tattoos look sexier on guys or on girls?
I think both. It just depends. If you're a sexy person to begin with, and you just have a little bit of tattoos, you might throw some edge on it, you know, like.
Hey, well, thank you for your
Yeah, for
time.
A tattooer, if you are not heavily tattooed, you can't say to someone, sure, I'll tattoo your hands, if you don't know what it's like to have a lot of tattoos and exist in society where you're still frowned on and where people say rude things to you. You shouldn't have that amount of control and power over someone if you're not willing to live that lifestyle and you know what that experience is like. Really, the only way you can become a tattooer is through information. There's drunk scratcher people that just work it off the internet, but you're gonna scar some people up. You're probably gonna scar up people and get beat up because you don't know what you're doing. You know absolutely nothing about bloodborne pathogens or cross-contamination or how to use an autoclave or how to keep things sterilized and clean. So you can probably make someone sick and pass it on to HIV or AIDS. So it's a really dumb idea to try to start. And what I've always told people in the past is that if you want an apprenticeship, you need to be a really good artist to start with. And then you probably need to go out and get tattooed so that you can see what it's like. And you probably need to study tattoos and see what's popular. The sheets that you see on the wall at tattoo shops are called flash. I tell people, draw sheets of flash. Find out what your niche is. Like, what is your style of art? What do you like to draw? Know what's popular. Look at magazines, go to conventions, study that, and then get some sheets of flash and take them into different tattoo shops and ask for an apprenticeship. And of all the time that I've tattooed and the hundreds of people that have asked me for an apprenticeship, none of them has ever done that. So if someone came to me and had done that legwork and had done that homework that I have told many, many people about, I might change my attitude about doing an apprenticeship. But non-tattooed artistic people and idiot tattooed people, I'm not going to deal with you. I'm not going to do it.
So you're talking about places you've traveled for. Like, what places have you traveled because of your career?
I worked in Chicago for almost a year. I went to New Zealand and tattooed over there for a year and a half. I left New Zealand and traveled to Australia and tattooed there. I went to Bali. I didn't work in a shop in Bali, but I tattooed in Bali, and then I went back to New Zealand. It's just you don't have to have very much stuff to take with you. It's just a little trolley, a little kit. I travel up to Dallas about once every 3 months and do a bunch of tattoos up there. It's portable. It's a great job. Nobody tells you what to do. Make a decent amount of money doing it.
So, like, how much has tattooing grown? Because there's now 3D
Oh my gosh.
tattoos and all these other
It's
things.
a lot of the things like that 3D tattooing and the white tattooing and the glow-in-the-dark black light tattooing. Oh, that's a lot of flash in the pan, fly-by-night stuff that I don't think is going to last. I think that the traditional style of tattooing, that's what's going to last, and that's what people do. All the piercing and the modification and tattooing eyeballs, all that stuff is just stupid to me have more shock value, and I don't think that really has any bearing on tattooing itself. I think that traditional, well-applied tattoos are going to be around forever, and some of this other kind of more fad stuff is just going to go by the wayside. It's not going to last. And to make it even more funny,
That takes the cake.
he worked at the club right next door to the tattoo shop, and all the bartenders, they came over to the shop and they were like, he's gonna get his first tattoo, and they had convinced him that they would pay for the tattoo if they got to decide what it was. And since I was the only girl working at the shop, they were like, she'll know what one looks like. Let her do it. And to this day, this was like 15 years ago, it's still the only tattoo that he has. And I ran into him at a show that I went to about 2 months ago, and he goes, oh hey, I remember you. Yeah. Anyway.
She knows what one looks like.
Oh my gosh. She'll know what it looks like, and I'm like, I might have one, but I don't spend a lot of time looking at it, so maybe, actually one of these guys would probably do that. But he was like, no, you'll have a lighter touch, you do. Yeah, okay, so let me think, what could I answer you that's not a flying, flaming pussy?
Let's hear another question. Maybe it'll come into your head.
Okay, what is the most common tattoo design that you usually do?
That I do, or that is usually done in tattooing?
I think you can answer whichever one.
So I tend to have a real particular style. Most tattooers that have been tattooing for more than 5 years have a style. And what I normally do is Japanese style tattooing, or things that are fine line and detailed with a whole lot of color. So I do a lot of flowers, because I'm a woman and I tattoo a lot of women, but I also tattoo a bunch of flowers on guys too. But I do a lot of fine line detailed work. But in tattooing in general, things go in phases. So tribal is really popular.
Why is tribal popular?
You know, I think that a lot of people, when they decide to get a tattoo, they've gone outside of the box so much for them, just with the idea of getting a tattoo, that it's hard for them to think about getting something really original. So they tend to get things that they see on other people around them, because they've already gone so above and beyond with the decision of getting a tattoo that they don't want to get something that's completely out of the ordinary and stick out even more than they are already going to. So people that come in and get 1 or 2 tattoos, they tend to get what you see on everybody else. Like when I worked in Chicago, I tattooed a lot of black people, so I did a lot of Panthers because they saw Panthers on all their friends, so they all wanted Panthers. In Austin, the style that's really popular in Austin is what I would call old school. It has like a fat, chunky outline, really heavy black shading, not a whole lot of color. Like the original 3 colors that you could do in a tattoo were black, red, and green, so a lot of heavy shading with black, red, and green. Traditional would be what you see a lot of in Austin. It's kind of chunky and black, and I like it, but it's not really my style. So I think that wherever you go, the thing that's popular there is what more and more people will get, because they see that that's what people already have, and it's hard for them to think of something more original and be willing to go that extra mile. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Okay, how about this one? I know that most tattoo artists or people that have tattoos don't necessarily always think about getting tattoos removed, but what method would you recommend to remove tattoos?
There is only one method to removal, and that is laser. And exactly the same way as when you get a tattoo, you want to make sure that you go to a tattooer who knows what they're doing. You want to make sure that they have a portfolio that shows photographs of tattoos that they've done. You need to do the exact same thing with laser removal, because the machine is difficult to learn how to use, and if the settings are not correct for the type of tattoo that you're trying to remove, it will burn the skin, because that's what a laser is. It's how they do laser hair removal. It basically burns the hair follicle until it dies, and then it doesn't grow any hair anymore. Same thing with the tattoo. It's burning. It basically hits the ink that's in the skin and breaks it up into smaller and smaller particles until it can get carried away in the bloodstream, and it lightens over repeated sittings. But if the machine isn't set correctly, it will burn you and scar the skin, and then you'll never be able to remove it. So it's exactly the same as getting a tattoo. You have to make sure that the person knows what they're doing and that they're going to be doing a good job.
Okay.
I actually know a lot about laser removal because it's getting so popular now and it's less expensive now. So cover-ups are huge. I do an awful lot of cover-ups, which is where someone comes in with a poorly done or bad tattoo or a name or subject matter that they don't want anything, and then I'll cover it with something else. But the ink is not opaque, it's transparent. So what you put over the top of an existing tattoo, it has to be bigger, it has to have a lot of heavy shading, a lot of black in it, a lot of a bright color, a lot of busy lines. But if you send someone with a poorly done tattoo and they get a couple sessions of laser removal done, it'll lighten it enough that then they have a lot more options for what they can cover with. So I know a really good place in Austin that does laser removal, and I send a lot of my clients there and they get a couple sessions done, and then we can cover it with something a lot easier than if it was the original black solid tattoo.
Do you yourself have a cover-up?
That's a good question. No, I don't.
No.
I do have the obligatory live and learn tattoo, the one that you wish had been done better. Hey, you're interviewing me for Christina's school on camera, so you need to go away and don't do that right now. Sorry.
Okay.
I do have tattoos that I wish had been done better, but I'm not going to get them covered up because they still have significant meaning to me. Memorials,
Trying
mementos.
to find a very interesting question to ask you that should be on here. Okay.
Really? Better than the first one?
I will ask that in a second. But how about this one? How many tattoos do you have? Do all of your tattoos have a story or special meaning?
I'm to the point now where when I go and get a tattoo, I'm just tying together little things. So, I mean, I really only have 9, but I'm counting my entire arms as 1. Whereas I used to probably have a dozen on one arm, but I've gotten to the point where I've tied everything together, and now technically it's just a sleeve. I'd say I'm probably about 50-50. Half of my tattoos have a really significant meaning to me and are really specific to the period of time that I got it and are a memento of that period of time. And half of them are probably that I was really infatuated with the artist. They had a particular style that I really liked and I asked them to design something for me. Or I was at a convention working with a bunch of tattooers and met someone that I really liked their style and they had some designs already drawn up and I would get something from them. So I'm probably about half and half. But I wouldn't give up any of the ones that I have. I wouldn't cover any of them. Even I have a few that are not very well done technically that were the first ones that I got, but I still wouldn't cover them.
What is the favorite tattoo that you have? Well, which one's your favorite if you had to pick one? I mean, I remember you telling me about the Nico one on your
Yeah, I really
thigh.
like the one. I have one for each of my kids. One for Nico and one for Stella. I would have to say that Stella's one is probably my favorite because Stella was a twin and we lost her twin and it has a little angel in it that reminds me of her twin. And
Cute.
I like having that as a constant reminder.
Have you heard about the 3D printer that was modified to do tattoos?
What, like I'm Divergent?
Kinda. There's
Because somebody actually called me after they went to that movie and were like, that's it, you're out of a job.
No, actually, French students modified a 3D printer to do tattoos. They have a video of it and everything.
That, I would like to watch the video, but I would venture to say that there's no way that you could program an inanimate, unthinking object to
do the same work.
do the same work. Not probably the technical ability. You might eventually be able to get that and get the artistic ability programmed into a machine.
It's a prototype right now, though.
But the problem that I foresee is that it's not easy receiving a tattoo. It hurts. It hurts for a long time. You're constantly wanting to, jump and move out of the way and this, that, and the other thing. There isn't anything that you can put on the skin that makes it not hurt because everything that's made as a numbing agent, it's either meant for the actual piercing of the skin one time, like for an injection, or it's meant to numb a wound after the wound has been administered. There's nothing that you can actually put on the skin that works while you're administering pain to someone right then and there. So I'm not only a tattooer and an artist and apply the tattoo, I baby people through it. There's a lot of people that would not be able to get a tattoo without me being their own personal cheerleader and encouraging them and helping them get through the whole process. So there's some tough people out there that might be able to just go sit down in a chair and have some machine go and have it be done. But I don't think that people want to get a tattoo. I don't think they want that divorce from the human aspect of it. So I think that regardless, I don't think that tattooers are ever going to be out of a job. We're kind of a fringe element of society anyway, and I think we'll stick around.
Okay.
But I'm going to Google that and watch it.
Okay, in your opinion, what is the definition of a tattoo artist, and what makes them an expert?
That's a good question, because there's a lot of tattoo artists, use my air quotes, that have successful shops and they apply a lot of tattoos and they make a lot of money and they suck. And they're not very good. But if that's what people expect, then that's what they're going to get. I guess my definition of an artist, a tattooer, would be if I put a tattoo on someone and they look at it when I'm finished and they're happy with it, then that makes me a tattoo artist. But in the past I've had photos in magazines and I've done the convention circuit and I've tattooed semi-famous people. I don't really care. It's not a big deal to me. It doesn't represent anything to me. I don't need to be in a magazine to make me feel good about myself. If I can just apply a decent tattoo, I'm happy with when they leave and I'm happy.
And last question. Who has been your most interesting person that you've ever tattooed, such as personality-wise, or just how would you describe the amount of effort you had to put into being able to do the tattoo?
So, a long time ago, I think it was in the year 2000. I think it was in 2000. So this guy came into the tattoo shop, and it was on April Fool's Day. It was April 1st. And he goes, I want to get a back piece. And I was like looking around going, where's the hidden camera? Because people don't just walk in every day, especially I hadn't been tattooing very long at that point, 5 years or something. And I thought for sure that someone was punking me. And we have this long conversation, and I'm just laughing inside going, this guy is so full of it. He's not getting back piece. Well, then he actually came. I sent him home and was like, do some research and then come back and tell me what you want and I'll draw something down. So he actually came back. I was like, oh, you were really serious. And so we started talking and he wanted to get this tattoo. And his name's Jeff. He's just a really weird guy. And I've been tattooing him consistently since the year, I think we started in 2000. And he has this back piece, a giant octopus, and some of the tentacles come around, and he's got like a starfish on his front, and one of the tentacles pops out on his arm, and it comes out on the back of his other arm. Anyway, he's a really interesting guy because he's a recovering junkie. He's a heroin addict. And when I first started tattooing him, he was still a junkie. And he was married, he had 2 kids, I met his wife, tattooed his wife a whole bunch, just this totally normal little Hispanic lady, and he's this giant, super tall white dude, and he would budget his tattoo money and his drug money, and occasionally he would call me and be like, oh, I can't make it this month, I blew the tattoo money for drugs. And I would always yell at him. And then years later, he told me, you're one of the reasons that I managed to quit doing drugs because I really wanted to finish my tattoo, and it was like this big impetus. Well, then this other guy that I tattooed told me this really funny story about him. He said they went to some metal concert, I think it was like Black Sabbath or AC/DC. This was a long time ago when South Long Meadows used to be a concert venue. And he said, yeah, Jeff and I, we like show up at the concert, and we're like, dude, take your shirt off and show everybody your octopus. And he's like, no, I don't want to do that. He's like, come on. So he finally convinced Jeff to take his shirt off, and Jeff was like, all these people are talking to me, man, and put his shirt back on, and he wouldn't walk around with it. Then he said to this friend, he said, oh man, I've got some crack rocks, let's smoke these crack rocks. And his friend was like, oh man, he was straight edge, he didn't do any drugs at all, and he's just looking at Jeff like, dude, you are crazy, there's no way. And then he lights up a cigarette and is smoking a cigarette, and Jeff's like, dude, you're smoking? Man, that's gonna kill you. And his buddy looks at him and he goes, cigarette, legal, crack rock. What? Like, you're telling me that my cigarettes are gonna kill me? And he told me that story and I was like, this just totally epitomizes my entire relationship with this dude, Jeff. The first time I tattooed him, he came in and I outlined his entire back in one sitting. And I tattooed him for like 5 hours and he was super quiet. And we got done and I'm all excited, like super excited. I'm like, look in the mirror, check it out. And he basically stood up, put his shirt on and went, okay, cool, thanks, bye. And walked out the door and I was like, oh my, he hates it. Like he's never gonna come back and get it finished. And so then the next time he came in to get tattooed, he brought me a letter. And he gave me the letter and he's like, you can open that when I leave. Like, dude, you're weird. You're super weird. And I'm really chatty and I'm trying to talk to him and he's like, yes, no, maybe. Like, it's just like pulling teeth to get him to talk. And then we finish this session and he leaves and I open the letter and it says, hey, I totally love my tattoo, but last time I came, I just could not listen to your voice for one more second. And that was all it said. And I was like, dang, I know I talk a lot. But then, like, I mean, I've known him for years now. He was actually one of the first people that came to visit me in the hospital when I had my kids, and he came to all their birthday parties. He's friends with my husband. And years later, he was like, no, really, like after that amount of time in that amount of pain, your voice just equated to pain. I just couldn't listen to you anymore. And I'm just looking at him like, man, you're weird. You're just a weird, crazy kind of guy. Weird guy. But that's just one person. Like, everybody's got their story. It's like being a hairdresser. People want to tell you their deep, dark secrets when they're in pain. Even more so than a hairdresser. It's never dull. I'll say that. It's never boring.